Today we're doing a 2-round NFL mock draft review. This one's from ESPN Plus from Field Yates. We're going to go pick by pick, player by player, analyzing the landing spots, seeing how that can impact the NFL, dynasty fantasy football in general on top of that. Anything else that comes to mind when we see the picks, we'll react to them as well. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're looking at these mock drafts. We're doing our own mock drafts. We're looking at the player values. We're scouting these players. We're helping you with your fantasy teams. And it's all for free right here. Click that button. Stop missing out. But we got to dig into here because there's a lot of picks. There's a lot of stuff to look at. We're on the ESPN page right now. This is the header for it. It's a draft from Field Yates. Coming down here to the first pick off the boards, Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. Big media is saying it, and the closer we get to draft day, the closer more of these drafts start to tighten up from the big media. They don't mess around too much. Usually the first few weeks before the draft is really when you want to look at the mock drafts, not in January. Cam Ward, after the pro day, it felt pretty good that he's going to be locked in being the Titans. There's other players I'd rather have. I'd like Abdul Carter. I like Travis Hunter. I like those guys at the top of the draft. But Cam Ward, though, look at him as a quarterback prospect. He's the top of the class. He was top of the transfer portal class last year. Fit-wise, the Tennessee Titans just has to keep building around him. They just have to. You can't build wide receiver too hard in this draft because it's not too deep. But still, you just got to keep putting in that work, building around him, cultivating around him. He does have a fast mental processor. We saw that from Washington State to Miami to FCS to Washington State. And then the Browns go Abdul Carter here. Second pick off the board. What I think about this is there's a chance this happens. There's a chance they pass on Shedeur, roll with what they got, and there's a chance that they go with Shedeur. Listening to Browns media, they do like Shedeur. They do like his moxie. They do like that from what I'm hearing from Browns media and from the intel that they have. But I could also see them going Abdul Carter because that's what I would do. That's what I would do. If I was in the Browns' shoes, I would go Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and then next would be Shedeur. Or maybe even one of the other. You got some good guys at the top of this draft. But I like Abdul Carter. I think this is a prospect you're not going to get often. This is a player that can really help that defense be nasty. You can patch up quarterback in the coming years. You're not going to catch an Abdul Carter every year. You feel like you are, but you're not. Coming down here to third pick, Shedeur Sanders to the Giants. So we're good here for the short term. Long term, it's a great spot for him to sit and develop. You got Malik Neighbors. You don't want him behind that offensive line right now anyways. You want them to build and cultivate. And if we can add to that offensive line over time and keep building this team and maybe even get another stud wide receiver somehow through the draft to pair with Malik Neighbors, but you're pretty good there. You got a stud. I think him going to the Giants or Raiders would be the ultimate fits. There's other places down the board that we've looked at while mock drafting that we were sitting on the clock where the positions just dried up. Like I was on the clock with the Colts one night and everything I wanted that day wasn't happening in a simulator, and I was like, man, Shedeur's there. And I know that they got a quarterback battle right now. They actually got some nice pieces that works well for him. And then the Steelers, of course, if he falls that far. I don't see him getting past the Giants or Raiders, though. Seems like he's got a good relationship with the Giants. I like the fact that he gets to sit behind two veteran quarterbacks. You got Jameis Winston there, who will help him develop, who will be a positive influence. We even saw that there in Cleveland. We saw that there with Deshaun Watson even. I think having Jameis Winston there with a young quarterback, I think that's where he needs to be. I think those two would work well together. I think that would be a great spot. I think that or the Raiders is great for Shedeur. Looking at the Patriots, Travis Hunter. I can't pass on Travis Hunter. I can't let him fall down the board. I agree so far with this mock draft pretty much. So far, so good. Jacksonville Jaguars go Mason Graham. Solid defensive tackle coming off the board. I see him mocked to the Jaguars a lot. And this is a guy that's going to plug up the middle for you guys. Raiders go Ashton Jeanty. They're built for it. They're built to make this move. They're built for it. It's not like we're looking at stud quarterbacks right now. We do have some wide receivers. You can go that route. But the other case you can make is you got a generational-esque running back right here. A running back that you don't get too often. Right in front of your face. You're hurting at the running back position. He's going to help you move the chains early. You got an older coach there, an older coaching staff that needs to win now. They want to win now. They want to turn things around fast. They want to prove that. Ashton Jeanty, out of all the pieces there on the board, there's some players I like Will Johnson. I like him a lot. I like a lot of players left on the board, but this is a piece that any team can draft here, top 10 or so, and they're going to get excited. Ashton Jeanty to the Raiders, I think it's going to be a good fit behind that offensive line. He's got good contact balance, good wiggle. It's hard to feel good paying up for a running back this high, but I think this is going to be a good fit for him. Now, it is expensive for a running back. It is expensive for a running back in this year's draft, considering how deep this class is. At this spot, you got to remember where they're at in the second round, but you're looking at guys like Quinshon Judkins and a few other running backs, but it is a tail off after you get past Judkins. You got to hope he's there even. So you're getting your guy. There's other players on the board at the other side of the ball, too, that we're looking at. And an Armin from Missouri going to the Jets, just going offensive tackle here, just adding to the offensive line. You got Justin Fields at quarterback. You got him leading the charge. You got a good core of running backs. I see that being a smart pick, smart meat and potatoes pick. Jalen Walker, Georgia, going to the Panthers. This is the highest I've seen him mocked. This is the highest we've covered so far. Good talent. Good guy to have on your team. I see Panthers seeing defense in the future coming down to him down the line in the draft. Shamar Stewart going 9 overall to the Saints. PFF Mock Draft Simulator has him lower than this. Sometimes he goes in the second round. There's other options on the board that the Saints might go with. There's a lot of options. They may even go like with a Tyler Warren or something like that to help the passing offense. They may even go with one of the wide receivers to help the passing offense. They just signed Brandon Cooks, so that's a sign that they're interested in re-cooking up that passing game. So there's other areas of need. There's other edges to look at as well. There's a lot of options here at 9. Coming down to 10, Will Campbell, offensive tackle to the Bears. They address the offensive line. Ashton Jeanty's off the board, and they're going to continue addressing the offensive line. And I agree with this because we saw what the offensive line was like last year. Injuries happen. You got a first rounder to plug in there, and on top of that, you got a guy here to develop, be a big-time prospect for you for the long term as well. I get it. We paid a lot of money in the offensive line, but we got to get this right. Get this right for Caleb Williams. Looking at what's on the board, what fits. You can also go edge. There's some good edge rushers, which I guarantee we're going to talk about soon. And we got some good defensive players as well. We can definitely do that too. That is the pivot from this position. Now we're looking at Walter Nolan, defensive tackle to the 49ers. He's been a riser all offseason long. PFF has not anointed him in their rankings or their mock draft simulator, but he has been with me, so I've been drafting him a lot. And he's got a high motor. He's fast. I think another thing to think about the 49ers here is offensive line. There's some good offensive linemen here in this part of the draft, especially offensive tackle. Interior offensive line, you want to wait a little bit in this draft, unless you're going Booker. And I believe people are going to pay up for Booker in this draft. He might even end up in the first round, which I believe he probably should be considering the positional scarcity. But coming down to the Cowboys, and they draft T-Mac. Sexy pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Potentially it could happen. T-Mac, Luther Burden, Golden, something like that. On the flip side, unless the talent really does fall to him like a T-Mac, which could happen, they could also go defense. They could also go defense or offensive line. I don't see them shying away from a meat and potatoes pick here, but I don't hate the pick, and I could definitely see this happening. I think there's a lot in the air for the Dallas Cowboys, and looking at them and all the needs they got, they may trade back. They may trade back. This is a very conservative team when it comes to moves. It's not your old school Jerry Jones here. So I could see them trading back. Miami Dolphins go Will Johnson. Should not be falling in the draft. This is a hell of a talent. This is a talent that should be drafted earlier. But considering the picks, something like this is going to happen no matter what. and the Miami Dolphins just snuck a talent right under your nose. This is a stud cornerback coming their way. Tyler Warren to the Colts. He may not fall to 14. He may not fall to 14. I like Colston Loveland just about as much. I don't see him as a Brock Bowers. That's just only going to happen about once every decade or so, where you get a rookie tight end like that. But you're getting a very good tight end. Don't cross that up. You're getting a very good guy that can help build your offense. They have a hole there at tight end that they're looking to build up. This just fits. But they could go another route. They could go edge. They could go defense. They could go offensive line. Even though they're good at those positions, those are some good talents that are young that you could develop in there that could help you out. There's just a lot of other avenues as well. I think Tyler Warren's a good slot. Everyone's mocking there. I think there's a high probability he goes there unless he goes earlier. Looking at the Falcons, Mike Green. I like him. High motor player. And I was thinking about him when I was talking about some of the other positions of some of those teams that could go edge, especially Cowboys, the other team that just drafted edge. Maybe even Niners even. The Falcons getting edge here. He's got a high motor. There's some other defenders they could roll with, but it's a good pocket of defenders here in the middle of the first round. I think this is a good selection. I would not be surprised if he gets drafted a little higher. Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle of Texas. Got to keep Kyler Murray upright. And I believe the offensive tackle run will start a little bit earlier than this. I think we'll get a little run on the offensive tackles. I think there's going to be some value onto them. I don't see teams just holding back on them. I think there's going to be a drop-off from these first-round offensive tackles. I think teams are going to want to pay up for those. We might see some trades up towards the top of the teens if that's a thing, for these tackles and those top edges as well. I think this draft's going to be fun. I think we're going to see a very fun draft as we're watching it play out. Gray Zabel, guard, center to the Bengals. They need to cash in on meat and potatoes picks. Just offensive line, defensive line, good defense. When I think about this, there's other talents on the board that I like better than Zabel. Like, Nice at the Senior Bowl. But you also got Josh Simmons on the board. If I'm going to go offensive line, I'm going to get the stud talent. I'm going to get that stud talent who's got a top 10 talent upside in any NFL draft that's come back from the ACL injury who just killed it at the pro day. I'm definitely going to be doing that over Zabel. I mean, it's a fit, something you can throw in. There's also good defense on the board that you could throw in that could help you out long term. That's actually regarded highly talented. Matthew Golden going to Seattle. I've seen him mocked here a few times. It's a fit. Lockett's not there. He can kind of give you that role. His team may not want that role, though. But that's a role that you can get. A guy that can push it deep downfield. That's a good route runner that could develop into a spot that can create separation. You got MVS there. You got JSN. You got Cooper Kupp now. Now you got a guy to develop into the offense that can stretch the field a little bit and create separation in the short to intermediates. Bucks go Malachi Starks. This is a gift. This is a gift. When I was talking about the Bengals and some of the other teams, I'm saying, hey, there's still some good defense left on the board. One of the players that were in mind. There's a few others, too, that I would draft higher than this that's still in mind. Like a James Pierce. Like, I do not see why he's falling down the board. He has not done anything to cause him to fall. Malachi Starks is there. This is a great fit for the Bucks. Great fit. This is a tremendous talent. Whether you need it or not. If you catch a talent that you need there, it's good. Hampton to the Broncos. So this gets your stud running back. This is going to help Bo Nix. And honestly, when you think about it, it's this wide receiver, or you just keep chucking picks at the defense and just make it a nasty-ass defense, which you could definitely do. But regarding Bo Nix, just getting him more talent, giving him more upside, I think this is a good fit. I think this is going to fit well with the Broncos. This is a strong defense and getting a good run game with that. After what we saw last year with the injuries, the inefficiencies, that's going to be great. Jackson Dart to the Steelers. So one thing we can think about here is we might be catching some rumblings here that Jackson Dart might be going higher than expected. The rumblings, though, could be a false fire, which it could be just rumors that aren't actually happening. But if he goes in the first round, then a team like the Steelers or a QB needy team that's drafting in the back end might do that and make that play. cultivate him over time. They're probably going to land Aaron Rodgers. It's more than likely going to happen. He's throwing with DK Metcalf. Let me know what you think about this, Steelers fans. The thing about this, too, that you may argue against it, you may not like them, but there's also some good defense on the board. Some good Steelers-esque picks. And a lot of times they'll make picks that they don't need the position of, but that player falls to them, and they make that selection anyways. And 2 years later, they're balling out, doing something. That's how the Steelers work. Chargers, Colston Loveland. Michigan man going to the Michigan coach. I think this is a great pickup for them. If you notice, the wide receivers are falling in this draft. Luther Burden, Mika Igbukah. That's something to note as we're watching this. But Chargers going Colston Loveland. I think this is great for the offense. I think this gives you more depth. Wide receiver-wise, you could go that route. But, again, you're good with Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey's your dude. And getting good depth here with good talent. Like, you're pretty much getting a Tyler Warren-esque asset. Maybe even better, NFL-wise, to the Chargers at pick 22. Like, at a better discount. And he's going to fit well. A good receiving tight end that's going to help this offense. Michael Williams, edge, Georgia. Like I've been saying, good defense is going to be on the back end of this draft. This is going to fit with the Packers. They're pretty much locked in on defense here because defense is going to be here. Defense is going to be here. We're going to have some good defenders on the board here. That's going to help some teams. This is going to be a good slot. They could go offense here. Luther Burden would be a good fit. This would be a good fit if they want to go sexy. Running back, they may wait on that a little bit unless they want to go with a Judkins. You say, no, I got Josh Jacobs and all that. But honestly, when you think about that, that's not for the long term. That's a talent that once that comes off the board, it's going to tear off a little bit unless you want Trevion Henderson. But he's a little bit of a different runner, so it depends on what you want. Coming down, you also get Caleb Johnson, who's in that tier as well for me. So you got 2 to 3 more running backs to look at. Minnesota Vikings go Jahdae Barron. Stud cornerback prospect. A lot of times get mocked higher than this. Again, defense is going to fall. Defense is going to fall. And it's going to get weird. The picks in the 20s are going to be money. That's what we're looking at. Donovan Jackson, guard from Ohio State. That's a reach right there. I would take Booker over him. This isn't really the draft to pull on interior offensive line unless it's Booker in the first round. He's really just addressing a position of need for the Texans. It's kind of confusing right now. There's so many other players on the board that's valued higher than him. Maxwell Harrison's been a riser in the draft. Cornerback of Kentucky going to the Rams. Solid pickup. Solid pickup. Going down to pick 27, James Pierce, edge to the Ravens. It's a gift here. It's a gift. Like I've been saying, he should not be falling this far. Too much speed off the edge. And like I said earlier, early teams, we're going to see some trade-ups. We're going to see some moves trying to get to these edges and offensive tackles. Like, they're moving these offensive tackles and edges down in these mocks. But those are highly coveted positions that hold a lot of value in real football. And that's going to create a market there. And that's going to create a bubble. And that's going to create a bubble that's going to cause talent to fall to the back end of the first round. I pretty much know that's probably going to happen. Just once we get out of these few more edges, and there's another offensive tackle or two left on the board, it's going to tear off. Detroit Lions go Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. He's been a riser. Meat and potatoes player. Feels like he could be a good Detroit Lion, like fit-wise, coaching staff, everything. Emawari, South Carolina safety, going to the Commanders. Another riser throughout the draft process. Another fit for them. Now we got to trade. I don't like it when mocks predict trades because they're very inconsistent. And now we're playing video games. And now the Patriots trade up to get Josh Connerly. I believe low-end first, high-end second-round talent, offensive tackle-wise, was at the Senior Bowl. Field Yates was probably at the Senior Bowl because he's actually covering some of these Senior Bowl players. Going 30 to the Patriots. Next up, another deal to get into the first round, which I believe we will see deals happen a lot in the 20s, early teens as well. But look at this. Raiders come up, Luther Burden, getting their wide receiver. Luther Burden, Ashton, Jeanty. That's a hell of a draft right there. That's going to help the offense. They need to retool that up. That's something to work on. Geod Campbell falling to 32. I don't see that happening. I get the position of linebacker where you can moneyball it. But on top of that, what could make this happen is the run on offensive tackles, the run on edges that I'm forecasting. Someone's going to fall to the Eagles. And I've been saying this in every mock draft. And some of these are positions on the defensive side that the Eagles don't need, but there's going to be a talent that falls to them that is too good to be true, and they're going to make that pick. And we're all going to say that the next day. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to get to pick 32, and they're going to make a selection that's too good to be true. Unless they have to trade back because they get a hell of a deal, the draft's going to line up perfectly for the Eagles with how they're built and what the talent's going to be there that's going to look like. Going down to round 2, and the Browns get their quarterback from Louisville. He's actually a good talent. Injured throughout his career, didn't get his opportunity until late. When you look at the tape, it looks good. He's got a good arm on him, good mental processing. You're not spending much on him. You don't have much sunk cost on him. You just got bit by spending a lot on a quarterback, so maybe you go a little bit later anyways, and you just pray it happens, and if it doesn't, you just go back to that well. The sunk cost allows you to go back to that well quicker if it doesn't happen, so the quick turnaround could be there for him. On top of that, there's not much sunk cost. You got dual Carter and a quarterback. And talent-wise, him versus Shedeur Sanders. How far you have them away from each other. I want to hear about that. Coming down to the Bills. Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle, Bills. Hell of a talent. Should not be going in the second round. This is where the mock draft is getting crazy because we got first-round talents here that usually or should be or will be going in the first round, going in the second round. But someone's got to fall. Donnie E, edge, Boston College, hell of a talent. Hell of a talent. You need him or not, you better pick him in the second round. You need him or not. If you got 5 good edge rushers, you better get your 6 right here. That's what I'm saying about Donnie E. Donnie E, I could see him being an Eagle. I can definitely see that. I love Trey Amos. He's fighting to be a first-round pick. I think he's a first-round caliber cornerback. I'd say later, first-round talent, mid to later. I think this is a stud. I've liked him a lot. One of my favorite corners in the class. I draft him a lot. I think him going to Jacksonville, that's a good selection for them. Chiefs are up. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle. This is a gift. Like I said, this is a top 10 talent who's come back from an ACL injury. He's not getting out of the first round. Offensive tackle is a highly coveted position. Talent-wise, there's a severe drop-off. There's no way I'm drafting Connerly over Simmons. That's ridiculous. He just put up a ton of reps at 225, like 39 maybe, at the pro day. Looked good at the pro day. He's going to be good middle of the year. And if I'm drafting a tackle, I should not have to feel like I need him exactly right now. Coming down here, Tyler Booker to the Giants. This is a good get for anybody in the NFL. This should be the first guard off the board. He should fight for being a first rounder. Positional value might push him down to the second, but he's a first round talent. He's a monster coming down to the Bears, and Mika Egbuka. Should be in the first round. But I got a lot of guys in the first round that should be, so we're going to see first round talent here in the early sentiment of the second round. That's what it's saying to us, especially some of the defensive linemen here. Mika Egbuka going to the Bears. You just got to take it. You got to take that talent, roll with it, whether you feel like you need it or not. DJ Moore is not going to be there forever. And you want to add talent to Caleb Williams. You already hit the offensive line. Defense is looking good right now still. I don't have a list of players right here, but I have a mental Rolodex, and I feel like defense is still hot and heavy. They could roll that way. They could. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, Iowa State. The Iowa State wide receivers are nasty. Higgins, Knoll, I like them both. Higgins fits with the Saints with his downfield play. This is a great fit for both parties involved, and I think that could be an excellent role for Dynasty Fantasy Football for Higgins. Coming down here to the Bears, Quinshon Judkins. They're going sexy in this draft. I forget what they did in the first round. They went offensive tackle. They're going sexy in this draft. I don't think they're going to go 2 sexy picks in the second round. They could take that liberty in the second round if Jeanty's not there and do that. I think they can go 1 pick sexy, which is probably running back, and 1 pick meat and potatoes, which I believe would be a pivot to defense. Defensive line, too, as we're seeing this, maybe a tier off to that. They could also use those to package up a little bit or package up one of the picks to get higher or trade back because there's talent and just accumulate. Mason Taylor, tight end to the Jets. NFL-ready tight end, that's going to attribute soon. Offensive tackle to the Niners. Like I said earlier, offensive tackle is a likely position for them in the first round. Getting a good offensive tackle, that's a major drop-off from Simmons to him. Major drop-off, though, in talent. That's what I was thinking. Simmons to the Niners would have been a perfect fit. It might take some weeks, but over the years, you're going to love that. Trevion Henderson to the Dallas Cowboys is going to give them some explosiveness. This is actually a good fit with what they already got. They got some good meat and potato grinders there. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, if you even mix it through training camp. Trevion Henderson and Javonte Williams would actually be a fun duo, especially as Henderson is developing. And then Williams is on the way out. Henderson takes over. He drafts another back. That's actually could be a good play for them. Colts, Carson Swissinger, linebacker, UCLA. He's been a riser in the process. Just a solid linebacker going to the Colts. Falcons go Darius Alexander, defensive tackle, Toledo. He's been a riser, but he's not been a huge riser to me. 46 seems like the right spot for him, honestly. Seems like the right spot for me. Nick Scorton, edge, Texas A&M. I feel like he needs to go a little bit higher. I think he'll get drafted a little bit higher than this due to the scarcity of the edge position. It's a money position on the defensive side of the ball. But going to the Cardinals get a good gift here in this draft. Coming down here to the Dolphins, going guard, Arizona. There's other guards I like. There's a few of them. I like Ratledge. I like Lampkin. There's other guards I like. I mean, I'm not hating on him. But, I feel like the interior offensive line position, the scarcity of the position, getting zapped 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, I don't see that happening either. I see maybe two at most. But I think defense is going to hold a lot of value in this draft. And I think offensive tackle is going to have a huge run. That offensive tackle run might push for this, though. That would be the argument. But cornerback Florida State, Thomas, got eaten alive a little bit at the Senior Bowl in some of the drills. But some of those drills, remember, not real life football, more like TikTok routes. But going to the Bengals, good value to them. Let me know if you like that, Bengals fans. But I would not take him over Revel Jr. from East Carolina. I wouldn't do that. I would take Revel Jr. over Thomas easily. Seattle just got a gift. This is a guy I should, in most drafts, get drafted early second round. You're getting him at 50. I think that's a great value for the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's a tremendous talent. Elijah Arroyo going to the Broncos. So this is a good tight end prospect to develop behind Evan Ingram. So 2 years from now, I get it. You do not want to draft a player and wait 2 years. But we're also in the second round. You're kind of in that area, in the middle of that, back end of the second round. But highly talented, highly athletic. Doesn't have the production profile. But still a guy that could cultivate well with the Broncos. Will fit well in the scheme. Will fit well with a lot of teams if they're patient with him. Seattle Seahawks draft Jared Wilson, center from Georgia, interior offensive lineman. This is solid talent, solid get. I feel like there's other players on the board, though, that we could do that's higher talented, that's a little better. We're probably going to come across Benjamin Morrison. Like I said, he's been falling in a lot of mocks. He's been falling in a lot of mock drafts. But him going to the Bucs, it's a great fit. I've mocked him to the Bucs in the first round. He's been falling in the process. I think this is a solid get for the Bucs. I feel like he should be going a little bit earlier in the second round than this. This is going to be a good talent teams need to pay up for. Jack Betch going to the Packers. It's okay. It's not going to be a windfall, though. Alec Aomander, I would take him over Betch. Going to the Chargers. Just good production profile. Put Travis Hunter in a blender. Looking solid there. You got Ladd McConkey, though. I don't know if you exactly need that. And I know there's some good defense left on the board. Looking at edge from Ohio State. Going to the Bills. Solid get for them. Solid developmental prospect going to them. Jalen Knoll. This could be the outlier wide receiver in the draft that hits here. He's always open. He creates separation. He's got speed. This could be the wide receiver that when we're looking at this wide receiver class, that's very ambiguous. A lot of people are low in this wide receiver class. Maybe we should switch that to being very ambiguous. And Jalen Knoll could be one of those players. Just twitched up. Just a player that could be a major impact. He fits in this offense very well. You got that twitched up wide receiver. You can move anywhere on top of what you already got. You got Xavier Legette. You got Jalen Coker. You got some other pieces there. That could be a good fit. Houston Texans go Kyle Williams. Same light as Jalen Noel. This could be another guy that's right under our nose that could do something at the NFL level. And I think he's just trying to say that the NFL is high on Kyle Williams. I understand that. Sims had him ranked as the second best wide receiver in his class. But like I said, he likes to twist the rankings to try to get clicks. But that's also an indicator that the market likes him. So look at it in two different ways. He twists the rankings, and also the market likes him. I like what I see on tape with him being twitched up, a guy that you can work out of the interior. I think that's a solid prospect. I like Xavier Watts, another player falling to the Ravens. Xavier Watts is talented enough to be drafted higher than this. I think mock drafters are kind of sleeping on that. PFF, ESPN. I would not be surprised if he goes a little bit higher than this. We do not have many safeties coming off the board. There's positional scarcity here. I would not be surprised if Watts goes a little bit higher off the board. Would not be surprised. Tate Ratledge, guard Georgia. I'm high on him. I believe he needs to go higher or above a lot of those other guards. We're seeing too many guards in the second round. There's like a guard run in this draft. I'm not projecting a guard run in the second round. I could see two and maybe one in the first, and that's Booker. But if Booker falls, Booker, then another guard, and then we're going to see an interior offensive line run in the third round. We'll see that, and I'm expecting that. A couple guards or interior offensive linemen, I'm throwing centers in there, in the seconds, and then the run starts in the third. Because we have some players here that have fallen, and I keep scrolling. Will Howard jumps up, 61 overall to the Saints. I don't see that happening. I don't agree with that. Like, I agree with getting a quarterback. I don't hate Will Howard or anything. I just feel like you can get him later. I just feel like you can get another quarterback later. I feel like they're going to do what they did with Rattler and just draft one of those guys later in the draft, see what happens in training camp. Get them in there in training camp, see what happens in competition. Bills go Jacob Parrish, cornerback, Kansas State. Another guy I like. Another guy I like that's getting slept on in this draft. I feel like he deserves to get drafted a little bit higher than this. Chiefs go Landon Jackson. Now we're going to that, I don't know what to call it, that second or third tier of edge rushers here. But that second or third tier should start in the middle of the second round, not later in the second round. And that's because we had that James Pierce push down, which is not going to happen. And that's going to push down those guards. So he's going to be drafted a little bit higher than this. We have a few other edge rushers as well. Alfred Collins, another gift to the Eagles. Another gift to the Eagles. Like I said, there's defense here that's getting pushed down. And Yates is more of a fantasy guy than he is of a draft guy. He does some studying because that's his job. But I definitely feel like defense is going to be pushed a little bit more. Offensive tackle is going to get a good push as well early in this draft. That's it for the 2-round mock draft. You can tell I kept it real with you on the picks. Argued and agreed with some of them, but argued with a lot of them too. Let me know what you think about your team's picks in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.